Hello. In this video series, I'm going to demonstrate my version 2 workflow of multicolor 3D printing. No limit to the amount of colors. And as you can see here, I did this one. This is with the first workflow. I have a more precise workflow though, and I did some testing with it, and it seems to work as I expected, better than this method. Although I do like this, I'm very happy with how this came out. This is sitting on my desk right now. I'm looking right at it on my desk as well as on my screen, as well as another test version with the new workflow. So definitely stick around for the new workflow if you're interested in printing similar to this, but even better color definition and color variety and precision of colors. There are some limitations, but I think ultimately it is worth pursuing. Hello, thanks for watching. Please help to stimulate the algorithm by tickling its underbelly via the thumbs up button. And also please consider subscribing, sharing with your friends, commenting. Any comments are welcome. Good, bad, ugly, advice, complimentary, ridicule. It's all good. I just hope you're enjoying the show and help for other people to find it. Thank you again. This video, this is going to be a mini series split up into probably 3 or 4 videos, and the first video is going to be to modify this CAD file here. To modify this CAD file here, and I'm only using it's 3D, but I'm only using it for 2D output, and then convert to 3D in Creality Print Slicer, blah blah blah, as I said in the previous video series with the initial workflow. The story goes, as I was developing that, as I was executing that workflow, creating those videos, I realized about halfway through a better way to do it, but I decided I would finish up with that and see how it came out, and it came out pretty well. I thought it came out pretty well here. But for example, this sort of wireframe sort of piping around the 3 and around the D is supposed to be silvery gray, and it's obviously not. So I determined a better workflow, and that's what this is all about. So the first video in this short mini series will be how to modify this CAD document in SolidWorks. So you might want to skip, if you're not into SolidWorks, you might want to skip right to part 2. And then part 2, I expect, will be executing the slicing process and determining, it's basically strategizing and slicing the CAD file. So to clarify, we'll create a 2D render from this image, or the modified version of this, and then we will bring it into, we'll create the 2D, we'll bring the 2D into Creality Print Slicer, use the tool within Creality Print Slicer to convert that 2D to 3D, and then go through, slice it, and scroll back and forth through the slicing, looking at layers, and incorporating also, can't forget to include my layer height visualization, real-time printing layer gauge. I always make up a new combination of words for it every time I say it. Maybe I should figure that out, but who cares? And so using the visual layer height gauge will determine what layers that I'll need to swap filament in order to get the multicolor print. Now, just FYI, this was 8 colors, and I think I'm going to try for 9 colors, maybe more. 9 just sounds like a good number, and it's bigger than the previous number, and don't necessarily need to go into double digits, because that's one less character I can fit in my titles, which always seems to be up against that 100 character count. So if I can minimize that, then great. And then in the third part of the video, intend to execute the print, and with all the color changes, and not live, but sort of real-time commentary as I do it, probably some pausing, so you probably won't see the entire print. I'll probably pause when I don't have anything to say, which would probably, I mean, this print's probably going to take an hour and a half, and knowing myself, there'll probably be about 17 seconds where I don't have anything to say, so I'll probably pause during those few seconds, and so it won't be the whole thing. Then I expect there'll be a bonus video, which would be my live webcam that I often record my prints on, and that will be the entire print, assuming the IP address doesn't change on my webcam, which it likes to do sometimes. Usually I check it periodically to make sure, and I correct it. So if you ever put it on my live cam and it says, you know, website not found or something like that, just check back or stick around or check back, and it's usually I usually correct the IP address to solve that issue. And so I guess that does it for the introduction. And so stay tuned, and I am going to next do the CAD modification, and after that the other parts of the mini-series. So hope you enjoy it, and stay tuned. Alright, let's get into it. So I mentioned modifying this CAD file. A couple things. I want to accentuate this edge here, if nothing else, especially because of the shape of this letter C. It sort of tapers outward. So when I created this model, this logo, part of my goal was to use distorted perspectives for each letter, different distortions of the perspective for each letter. And so, for example, this C is sort of a reverse perspective, and sort of from the side. I don't even know how to describe that. The R is somewhat realistic, cartoony. The 3 is obviously warped in a different direction. The E is very much an exaggerated standard perspective, and the D is pretty close to standard. Although again, these are not perspective views doing that. This is a non-perspective view. If I hit the perspective, it would look like that. But I don't care about hitting perspective because I gave each letter its own distinct perspective. And so you can see the R is quite similar, except for this, what do they call this? Serif? So it's this little serif going on here and not here. So this one matches the curvature of the 3. Now I considered like making the 3 and the D a little bit bigger and things, but I don't want to mess with that so much. But I'm gonna mess with this edge just to preserve, because if I just do it one color, it just comes out as a big fat C, whereas that's not the intent. So I'm going to do something there. I have a couple ideas. I'm going to do one or the other. Maybe I'll try both and see which I prefer. One is actually just add a radius, and the other would be to do like a cartoony edge in the actual render output. Now I haven't been rendering this for the output, but in this case I may do that, because that will be one way to preserve that edge, and also these other edges as well. And you'll see, because I'm actually going to change this from color. I'm going to create the rest in color, but then I'm going to convert it to grayscale manually, and that's sort of that's the secret sauce of the method of the workflow 2, is to change it to grayscale, and it gives me much more control over layer uniformity where colors are, whereas this guy, you can see what would be gray piping is various colors, and that's just because of I just converted the 2D color image to 3D, whereas if I do strategically with the grayscale, it's going to give me exactly what I want. Alright, so then the other change that I want to do is I am at like 248 last I looked subscribers, and so I expect to hit 250 subscribers either today or tomorrow, just the way my subscriptions have been somewhat consistently growing. And so I suspect that within 24 hours I will probably be at 250, and so this will be also sort of a commemorative plaque for that. I have 2 other commemorative plaques. I did one at 50, and it was also a multicolor print, and somehow that was my most popular video of all time. Regarding gained subscriptions, anyway. I I had 50 subscriptions and I gained 16, so that's just about 33% increase in my subscriptions just from that one video, which is amazing to me. And then I did another one at 100 subscriptions, 100 subscribers, and I'm looking at both of these right now on my wall here. And the funny thing was the 100 subs plaque was much nicer, and I happened to hit 100 subs on Independence Day this year. And so the plaque has an American flag and some inscription, 100 subscribers, blah, 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 Independence Day, and red, white, blue letters on the Independence Day. And it's pretty cool. I didn't get nearly as many likes on that. I'm not sure why. I think it was just so much enthusiasm that, like, the people that were my 50 subs at the time, well, actually the people that joined after weren't the 50 subs. So who knows? For some reason that 50 subs, very simple, multicolor. It's a 2-color model, very simple, and for some reason I got a whole lot of subscribers from that, which was pretty great. So anyway, I'm going to turn this into a 250 subs commemorative plaque. So to that end, I'm going to create a sketch on this on the front plane, and I am going to create a reference line here. I might change this background. I don't typically work with a black background, but I changed it to black just for the output of this rendering, so the black will be in the background. But I think I'm going to change that. So let's. I just want to show what I'm doing here. So basically, this line is going to be what defines where my text object is. And so what I do here, I want to explain how I'm working here. And this is from many years, well over 10 years of using SolidWorks. So I'm going to create that line horizontal. So what I want this line centered, and then my font I'm going to center, and so that way the text will be centered. How about that? That makes sense, right? And so my quick workflow is to create that line, then create this line, not vertical, go to the midpoint, select this, and go vertical. So now this is centered. Now there's a bunch of different ways you do that. I find that that's the quickest way for me to get to that point, other than I just did it very slowly because I redid it to show you, and I explained it the second time. And so now I pre-select this, and I hit my text, and sketch text. And so what am I going to say here? Thank you for 250 subs. I like 3 exclamation points, don't you? Is it exclamation point or exclamation mark? I don't even know anymore. I'm so old. I learned that like 75 years ago in school. Let's capitalize these. I don't know, maybe I should capitalize all of it. I don't know, I'll think about that. And is the date significant? What's today? August 27th. Nah, I don't think it. It'd be funny, it's actually my birthday is coming up. But it's not going to hit on my birthday. So I'm not going to, I was just trying to think of what date might be relevant coming up, but it's not soon enough. I expect tomorrow or today. Alright, so I'm going to uncheck use document font, that way I can increase the size of it. And I'm going to change the font. I got this font from a client project, which was really a neat project. I would almost show it here, but he's not selling them yet. He's in production, and I did ask him for permission. Oh, that's interesting. What is that? Kazuka? This is not the one I was thinking of. I just want to see what this is. But in any case, so the client, I did ask him for permission to use his product image specifically for my portfolio, which I only send to prospective clients, so very few people say it, so I can't really show it on here yet, but I'll probably show it soon once he goes into production. He's actually going to send me some samples too. He's very happy with how it came out. It's really a neat model, one of the most complex models I've ever done. Probably not the most complex, but definitely was, put it this way, it had so many features in it. or at least so many sort of edges and things that I had to break it out into multiple parts and then combine them later because it just wouldn't calculate the entire part model. That's how complex that part model is. But in any case, where I was going with that is he gave me a font to use for that, and I like that font, so I'm probably going to use that. But first, I don't know what this font is, so I want to see. Oh, I'm in units, so let's. I want to triple that, so let's say 0.38 ought to do it. There we go. I might go a little. That's not bad, but I think the 250. Maybe the 250 should be larger. Let's think about that. Anyway, I'm going to stretch this. I have to get out of this command. I'm going to stretch this a little wider. That'll let me go a little bit bigger on the text. This font seemed a lot more interesting in the preview, and it's not so interesting now that I see it here. So I'm going to just go past it. Oh, wait a minute. What happened? What did I say that was? Like Kazuka? What was it? What's that? Dutch. It's like basically times Roman, right? What was that? What was with a K? G H I, yeah, Kozuka. All right, well I guess that Kozuka was boring, but watch this. Was it G? Grotesque? It's a grotesque VoIP or something like that. Where is it? Where is this font? I told myself I'm not going to drag this out because I want to keep it short for the people. But I think anybody sticking here to see the SolidWorks portion of the tutorial, which I don't get a lot of views on the SolidWorks content anyway, but I think maybe this one will be a bit longer and people can just skip it. That's what it is. Get VoIP. Grotesque. This is a pretty wild font. I kind of like it. Probably need to make this smaller. Let's go to 0.25 for now. Yeah, see that? Even I decreased that significantly and it's still too big. Maybe I think I'll do this on 2 lines and 2 different sizes. So I'm just going to copy all of this, and then I am going to delete this, and I will make this smaller. Oh, how did I do that? I thought I put 0.5. I thought I put 0.25, but I put 0.5. And obviously I do know that those are quarter inch, half inch. Makes more sense to me to just say it as I type it, right? Alright, so this line is parallel and the same length and in line. And so I'm going to pre-select, and I'm going to go again to my sketch text, and I'm going to just paste the thank you for 250 subs, and then delete the beginning, and uncheck default font, change the, I have to do that again. Alright, so GET, there we go. And I want this one to be, what, 0.75? That's not bad. It's a little bit overpowering, the logo. I think it'll be alright. Maybe I will, what if I, oops, oh no, I did it. I broke it. There we go. Alright, so I think what I might do, how about that? Is that better? I think that looks pretty good. Let's do an extrude and see how that comes out. And it doesn't like the S's. That's weird. I'll probably have to, unless it's just not previewing them, I'll probably have to just manually reconstruct those. Not a big deal. And I don't know, 0.3 extrusion. And I could like draft these or something, or put them in a direction. Yeah. So I'm going to do these separately. So if I say, all right, for now I'm just going to accept it and see what happens. See if I do need to reconstruct those S's. And I also want to get rid of this black background. Alt-TP enter gets me into my system options, and then in the system options tab, color, and I'm just going to change it to white. Actually, I'm just going to background. No, that's not the background. Viewport background. I'm just going to change it to white. I thought it was going to be something more automatic, but that's fine. Alright, now it's easier for me to see. I want to delete those services. So I want to go features, delete bodies. These I don't like. I thought they'd be cool initially to keep the 8 looking 3D, but it just looks... I have to say delete bodies, not keep bodies. It gives you the option. I accidentally chose keep. So let's go delete bodies. I thought that was going to make the 8 look 3D, but all they did is look like faulty print loops. So I've deleted that. And as you can see, I'm going to have to recreate those, the S's there. And I wish you could, that was my lips, that wasn't something else. I wish I could, I think in Inventor, so back when I first started using SolidWorks, before that I used Inventor briefly, and there were some features of Inventor that I preferred over SolidWorks. But then once I got used to SolidWorks and I tried going, I reevaluated Inventor when I quit my job in 2017 to work for myself. And at that time, I evaluated a few different programs, Creo and Inventor. I don't even know if Fusion 360 was out yet. It probably was. I haven't since evaluated that and decided that I still prefer SolidWorks for a host of reasons. And I don't even know what that means. What's the host of the list of reasons is more my speed. And don't want to get too uppity more than I really am there. Any case, what was I saying? Yeah, so and nice thing in Inventor is, as I recall, you could like copy. So if I wanted to copy this text feature, I could copy and paste it here. But I think this doesn't let me. Yeah, it says I can't do that. I could potentially just create. I wonder if it'll let me do that, project the geometry from the letters. For some reason I think not, but let's see. So I'm going to create a sketch on this plane. I'm going to highlight this. I want to hit G. Yeah, it doesn't like that. Although, I can do it this way because these were created. I'm just going to project. G is project geometry. So if I just hit G, it'll bring this dialog box up, and then I have to select them and then hit OK, and that's more cumbersome. I find that if I pre-select and then hit G, it just automatically projects each one individually and keeps me out of the dialog box. It's a more efficient way to work. All right, and these are all going to break because I'm going to delete that text, and so I am going to just go into my display delete relations and delete all. And in fact, I want to fix these just so I don't accidentally drag them, which happens once in a while. It's not giving me the option to fix these. Why? There it is. Oops. Alright, so let's fix all these. Alright, those are all fixed now. And I'll get out of here. And then I will edit this sketch. And I will... you know what? I'm just going to turn that to construction, can I? I can't turn text to construction, so I'll just delete it. And okay, I guess I'll do similar similarly here. So again, I will, well, first let's show why I did what I did. I'm going to turn my sketch visibility on. So there's these guys. Ooh, I lost the, I'm going to undo back to here because I need to project these. Select loop. That didn't work. All right. Well, anyway, let's just start over here. I need to select all these guys. I do remember that there were a couple times when I was doing that client work with this font that it's a little goofy. Like there's a point here. This curve comes to a point, which I thought was unusual. And it also, some of the curvature of this font also, I remember, wreaked havoc with my 3D geometry construction. So no big surprise there. And so now I need to go back into delete, display delete relations and delete everything other than the fixed stuff. All this on edge stuff I want to delete. Shift select, delete. And I'm just going to highlight all this again and say fixed. Even though most of it's already fixed, now it's all fixed. Alright, so now my sketch should be complete. And if I go back into this, if I go back into this sketch and delete this and then rebuild. Alright, so now I have this sketch and I want to make it look sort of, again, an alternate perspective. And so I'm actually going to do a 3D sketch here. It's going to give me some flexibility. Do I really want to do it that way? No, you know what? I want to do it in two 2D sketches because that's going to give me a little bit, make it a little easier to control. If you just put a line in 3D space and then try to drag it around, you're at the mercy of whatever view you're looking at. Whereas if I do it in two 2D sketches, I have much more control. So again, I'm going to go to the front face, create a sketch by any sketch command. I usually do C just out of force of habit, but I could do L, which is creating a line anyway. So I'm going to do this, right? And so this is mimicking my extrude direction, one of the planes. And then I'm going to rebuild, and then I'm going to create a sketch on the right plane. And just I'm going to project that and make it reference geometry, and then I'm going to create a line to here, and I'm going to constrain this to horizontal to that. And so now what that does is if I stretch this down, the other line follows it. Except I failed to constrain this. Oh no, I did. So that's fixed. So I can change this angle this way, and then I can change. Oops. Oh yeah, and then I can change the other angle this way. Yeah, I slightly confused myself there, but I think this does what I want. So, for example, oh, I know what I need to do. Let's put this right over the center here and fix it. And so now these are on the same position, and I guess now I will create a 3D sketch. I thought I had a workflow in my head, but lost me a little bit. I know what I did wrong. I don't need a 3D sketch yet anyway. So this should, instead of being, I'm just going to delete this. And so I'm going to project this. Oh. Yeah, if I want to create it from Oh, I know. I don't want this sketch. That's what it is. I don't want this sketch on the mid plane. I want it on this a plane parallel to the right plane to here. So Control plus on the numpad is my create plane shortcut, and so I pre-selected a point and then a plane, and then it created that point. I hit enter twice, gets me out of it, and cancels the auto name function that I have checked in the options. And so now I'm on this sketch, and I will press L for line to create the sketch, and I will project this to here, and I will make this construction, and then I will create this line here. Yeah, and constraint of horizontal to there. And so now, and then I go Control 3 for 3D sketch, and then I create a line from here to here. And so now this is going to be my projection direction for my extrude, and I can adjust it by dragging this up and down and dragging this side to side. Although, yeah, something like this. And why can't I? I mean, I should be able to. What is that attached to? That doesn't make any sense. I'm going to delete this relation. I'm not even sure what's going on there, because this sketch is before the other one, right? This sketch, then this sketch, then this sketch. So this should be able to go like that, and that should update. Okay, I'm not sure why that did what it just did, but it's not doing it anymore. So, and so the point here is now I can do X for extrude, and I can select the sketch. I'm going to pre-select that sketch. I'm going to pre-select that sketch, and I am going to X for extrude and extrude along. Does it highlight that for me? Anyway, direction of extrusion. So I'm going to select this 3D sketch line, and I'm going to uncheck merge. Just it doesn't really matter actually. And then this is going to be, let's call this a point 0.15, because they're 1/4 inch high letters. So let's see how that comes out. The sketch has more than one open contour, so I guess I have to, oh, not too big a surprise. Like I say, these tend to wreak havoc sometimes. So what if I did this? If I said, so is that gonna not? Yeah, okay, so these lines evidently are not connected. So I want to edit this sketch. A little trick I do here in a case like this where it's hard to tell what meets where. I'll show both workflows. I could either select chain, and it shows them all, but I suspect that it's not a full loop chain. I suspect that there's one place where it's disconnected. So if I disconnect one of them, and hopefully it's not the one that would thwart this, then I say select chain, I would be able to see which one is not. So I guess I was lucky enough to pick the wrong one. So let's delete this one instead. Delete that. Select chain here. Ah, that must be where the disconnection is. So if I select chain here, you can see it selected all this, but not this. So it tells me that this is where the intersection is bad, and so I'm going to undo the delete that. And then this is the other trick. I'm just going to make a circle and trim, 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 trim. And I might be able to just select these two and say coincident merge points. Nothing like that. I'm going to, instead of trim, 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 I'm going to do extend. And then trim. There it is. That should do it. Alright, so now, if I do extrude, at least on this guy, that'll be happy. Is this guy happy? That guy's not happy. That guy is happy. Alright, so no big surprise. And it's because it's the same letter, same font, it's probably this same spot. So I'll Control Shift X for extend in my shortcuts. If it's not in yours, you might want to set it. And then I trim. and I rebuild, then I try it, and now it looks good now. So now if I select this whole sketch and then say extrude, what happens? Nice, looking good. And then I select my extrude direction to here, and I'm going to change this. So that's, like I said, that's too much. Let's say 0.1, and I'm probably going to move that direction down, but that's fine as it is for now. I'm just thinking about some funky things I could do, but for the sake of expediency here, I'm not going to get too crazy, but I'm going to tilt this down instead of up. Wait, that's not the way to do that. I need to move this guy down. Right. Yeah. So I'm going to change the color of this feature just for now because I can't see the black well enough. I'm going to change it to I have a sort of orangey red. That's interesting that that's orange here, but on my video logo it's much more gold because it's an actual render. And so this orange will not necessarily match that orange. And I have an orange, like metallic orange, that I think I'm going to use. Yeah, straight on. So I can't actually. This isn't the exact angle that I was considering, but that's actually pretty cool, I think. So I'm going to leave that like that for now, and maybe we'll adjust it later. And so this guy. Why is that orange? Because the whole part's orange. Why was the other one black then? I just don't know why this came in black, because it makes sense. I would have guessed that the part was orange because this template was orange. I remember at that point in time, but for some reason that came in black. I don't know why. It's fine. I need to recreate my S here, so I am going to make this visible. The sketch. I'm going to roll back to here just so I can see this. And I think like I say, I think I had to do this with. Is that actually? I'm slightly confused why that's selecting. In any case, I never used to say that. Usually I say in any case, and for some reason I'm saying any case. Okay. So I need to put a sketch on the front plane, and I think I can't project this. Correct. So I just need to recreate it, and it's not snapping. Why is it not snapping? Can I snap over here? I can snap over here. Well, that's annoying. I guess I just won't snap. I hit L and then I hit L twice to reset the command. L to stop the command. Then I'm going to Control S. Now, some people, the default Control S is save, but I find it a lot more. I find I save a lot more. I changed my shortcut to save to just S instead of Control S and then Control S is spline. That way I can save more often, more easily. So let's do this. And I do need to save this because sometimes SolidWorks gets a little goofy with the splines if you edit them and locks up the software. I'm actually going to hit save right now. Okay. Oh, and I maybe start my spline over, but that's fine. Better than it crashing and me losing all my work. So Control S for spline on mine. I recommend it on yours. I'm pretty rough here, but it's tricky to judge that. That's actually pretty close. I almost won't even bother to adjust that, but I guess I will. Does anybody use Reddit? Man, Reddit's getting nasty. It's like loaded with either they're bots or they're well conditioned by bots, because they're just irrational. Just throw stuff out there and you try to have a rational conversation and it's just all mudslinging. It's pretty gross. And then the other thing that annoys me about Reddit, and it's probably not exclusive to Reddit, but so, you know, I have a Creality K1 and I print with it often, and the Creality K1 forum exists, and so I post some of my content on there. S for save, Control S for spline. And on other 3D printing subreddits, they're nice enough to have like automatic bots. So when sort of noobs come on and post, it's okay if you go on there and like whine a little bit, but give some information about your problem so people can help you, not just piss and moan and give zero settings, zero information about your experience, zero information about what you've tried, zero information about what you might have broken in the printer if you did some work on it. Like zero information, just the piss and moan session. I found it so. I'm not even necessarily blaming the whiners. I'm annoyed that the guy that's running that forum is just squatting on there and not maintaining it. Like he's not. Like I say, all the other 3D print forums tend to put a bot on there that says, hey, if you need help, help the people to help you. There's none of that on that. I've never seen any mention of help the people helping you to help you, instead of just, it's like, as a person that wants to go on there and help people, it's like it affects my mood negatively to listen to whiners, but not. And I can't justify being that bot that has to explain to everybody that, hey, you have to post some information. I just find it so. It's like you know, like slightly emotionally draining. Like you know, it's not affecting my life extremely negatively, but it definitely makes me not want to help. You know. And hopefully here I can just copy this and scale it down. Let's move this. Oops. Move this to here. And then scale it from this point. And that's pretty close, and I might call it good enough, because there's not a, that I know of, there is not a non-uniform scale. Actually, I am going to show a workaround for that though. So I'm going to call this good enough for now, and what I'm going to do is create a surface out of this. I'm going to select loop, select chain, sorry, and go to my surfaces and planar surface. Okay. And this I can scale non-uniformly and then use it to project new sketch geometry to then extrude. So, but first I need to set a reference coordinate system. And I'll just put that right on the corner of this. And, okay. And so now, when I scale, I go to features, I go to scale, and scale parameters, this guy, coordinate system, nice. I pre-selected the coordinate system and it gave me that, so that's nice that that worked out. Uncheck uniform scaling, and on the Z, I'm going to put that to 0.9. That's probably too much, probably 0.93, 0.94. Let's say 0.94, see how that works. And it didn't do anything. Okay. Why did it not do anything? Because I did Z, not Y. Silly. Y, 0.94. Wrong axis. Nice. So it's a little thin there. It's a little thin there. Okay, I'm going to adjust my plan a little bit. I'm going to scale it what am I going to do? Let me think. I was going to offset this, but then that's no good. So the 9.94 is just a little much. I'm going to say like 0.96 and call it perfect enough. Even though it's not going to be entirely true to the letter, it's fine. And yep, I'm going to call that good. And now I need to create a new sketch. This is very inefficient what I'm going to do right here, because every sketch element that you include in any part slows down the regeneration. But there's not a whole lot going on after this in this model, so I am just going to go ahead and make a whole bunch of sketch entities, and it's going to work fine. So I'm going to create a new sketch in the front plane again, and I'm just going to project all of these. Whoa. Why? Why is this not... why is it grabbing that sketch? Alright, so I'm just pre-select each of these. And that... okay, I'm a little confused, but I'll take it. And this guy. And these guys. I'm going to hide this coordinate system. So this is a little bit slightly sloppy, but it's in the name of efficiency, so I don't mind being slightly sloppy in the name of efficiency when it comes to design. As far as the output, as long as the output's not sloppy, that's the important thing. Alright, so I now have this, and I need to recreate that 3D thing. And so what did I do for that? I created a sketch on the front plane, and this is going like this. And I'm going to show the sketch, and then combination of the right plane and this point, pre-select with the control key and the left click, and then while I'm still holding the control key and control plus and the numpad, and that creates this plane parallel to the pre-selected plane at the pre-selected point, and enter to escape the rename, and then C to create a sketch. Could have been L for a line, and I'm going to G for that, and then this L here, yeah, and make this horizontal to this, and then a 3D sketch. Actually, I could probably reuse that same 3D sketch, and I will, just to save one more 3D sketch. I've actually not tested exactly how much the 3D sketches slow down the rebuild times, but I'm sure one 3D sketch is not going to be worse than two 3D sketches regarding processing time, so I do it that way. Or in this case, I'm doing it that way. And so now, again, I have a extrusion angle. And so I have now, this sketch here, I want to move this to after the 3D sketch, just because I find when if I create sketches and then create features out of order, you can kind of paint yourself into a corner as to being able to drag features around the feature tree. So now I am going to pre-select the sketch, X for extrude, no, X for extrude, and give it this direction. And This is much taller, so so what did I say these are? How tall are these? Are they 0.5? I don't think so. Anyway, let's see what 0.3 looks like. 0.3 looks decent. I can always adjust it. I don't want to merge it though because I have those other bodies there, and I'm going to hide those. Edit feature, uncheck merge. Merge unchecked. And then this, I don't know why I keep selecting that sketch. That seems like weird behavior to me. I am going to, geez, can I just delete bodies based on selecting the feature? That's a good question. No. I could have just, I'm just going to hide these. What am I doing? I'm just going to hide this feature. Right click, hide. Okay, and I forgot about the centers there. So let's go back into the sketch. And do I need to, oh, that was dumb. Ah. I guess I'm just going to recreate this. S for save because I'm using splines, and I find splines tend to be buggy and lock up my software sometimes if I adjust them. That's pretty good. I might not even adjust that. There's a guy that does Rhino tutorials, and he makes a great point about how many points you actually need to create a spline, and then if you do too many, it gives you poor quality. So basically, to go around any corner, you need 3 points. And this corner is very tight, so I did 3 tight points. I guess that's probably an extra point that I maybe didn't need, but that's fine. And then this is 1, 2, 3 points to get around this corner, 1, 2, 3 points to get around this corner, 1, 2, 3 points to get around this corner. And then this guy may be extra. So let's see what happens if I delete this guy. Whoa. So it's a little smoother. And if I delete this guy, that gets a little goofy, but that's okay. I can Control-Shift-P shows my control points. I'm not sure if that's my shortcut or if SolidWorks. Ah! See that? It crashed. I called it. I called it. I'm glad I saved. Glad I saved. So you gotta be careful with stretching splines around in SolidWorks. And I would say it could just be a bad install on my system, but this is across multiple installs, and I still get the same bug, same crashing on multiple computers. Not only multiple installs across multiple computers. Like this computer has been one install. My previous computer did at least 3 installs over the years, and that bug never went away. And also not the same graphics cards. In fact, 3 different graphics cards, all pretty high end. Now I will give the disclaimer that I don't use the Quadro cards, but I highly suspect that this would also happen on the Quadro card, and I can't prove that. But it's just something that I watch out for, and I make sure I save before I do those, and it's no big deal. Is that this guy? I think so. See, no big deal. I'm back in, okay, I lost like a minute's worth of work. I lost my splines. I can redo those. So, am I already in this sketch? I am. And so I'm going to go Control S, and maybe I won't even adjust my splines this time. That point may not need to be there, but I think it does because it's kind of a corner. 1, 2, 3. And this kind of needs to be defined, and then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1 in this middle here, and then 1, 2, 3, and then this one in the middle. And I don't care if it's not perfect. It's fine. And then here, I'm going to go So I do want the extra one here. All right, then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then this guy, and then 1, 2, 3, and I'm doing the and this guy because it's kind of its own 1, 2, 3, but it's borrowing from the other ones because that's sort of defining that curve. 3, and then at the top, and then this one, and then. All right, so I'm not exactly going by that rule here, but it's good enough. And I'm not going to drag that around. So now sometimes I can drag them around and they're fine. And sometimes I drag them around and they're not fine. So who knows? In any case, I said it right that time. I'm going to go X for X. Oh, no, it's already extruded. I already created the extrude. I'm just editing the sketch. And now it, oh, I'm rolled back. Okay. So. Is that really what I want, though? Oh, is that guy? There we go. I'm gonna make that. Ooh, I don't really want to make that. I could just scale that up. Yeah, I could just scale that up, and I'm call this point the coordinate system at this point, and then I'm gonna scale that up. I could go back in and. I was going to go and adjust the text, but because I had to make these cutouts, that would make it more of a hassle. So instead, I'm just going to scale that 3D features, pre-select that coordinate system so you don't have to find it later. Scale, where's scale? Scale, and scale parameters. Can I do window? Nice. And we're going to do a uniform. Let's call it 1.5. Ah, not 11.5. 1.5. Okay. Let's try a little bigger. About 2. There we go. Let's turn off these sketches and this coordinate system hiding, not turning off, hiding. And so that looks good. So you can see that the perspective for the thank you for goes down and to the left, and for the 250 subs goes up and to the right. I kind of wanted it the other way, I think. Just for the way the highlights would be. Yeah. Yeah, and then I'm going to make the highlight on the 250 subs the same. Maybe the same color as, or I'm going to make it a different color rather than just the orange color. I might do it that same gray color. I'll decide. But first, I want to change the direction of the highlight. So for that, I need to just drag this down. And so now, I'll have a highlight. Actually, I want it to go to the side too. Turn that. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And now this is way like when I used to draw when I was a kid, you know, like on my school book covers, if I would draw like 3D text, and I generally did it this way, and up and to the right would be highlights. And so just sort of reminiscent of that. Like I don't remember the last time I thought of that, but it's basically what I do there. But I don't want this one to match it, so I'm going to do this one the opposite direction. So let's show this sketch, and let's just put this up here, and there we have it. And so this will be dark on the bottom, and this will be, you know, a shadow underneath, whereas this one there's no shadow, but it'll be highlight on top. I think that should work out pretty well. Okay, and last but not least, what colors do I want these? So with the background, I'm at 8 colors right now. I have a sort of a metallic red, and I have multiple 2-color I have a silver and gold, and I have like a blue and green. Depending on which way you look at them, the color looks different. So let's call this the 250. I'm going to call this it's like a metal flake orange. So I'm just going to mimic that. I'm going to do that this way. Let's do this from here. Actually, it's basically this color. Like the way this renders, it's just about. Well, I have a yellow too. I have a yellow and an orange, and this one's going to be the yellow. So I'm actually going to copy this. Yeah, I should define it here and then change it to the grayscale. So let's. I'm just going to copy that, and then this feature, paste appearance. What color do I want to highlight it? Maybe the silver and gold? Silver and gold highlight. I'm going to do the silver and gold highlight on this. And so instead, I'm going to change that. I'm going to change this to change this feature to it's just something that's going to represent the silver and gold. So I'm just going to put that just as a reminder of what it is. And then the front faces I'm going to change to the orange. Copy that. Paste to this face. And I'm going to say edit this. This is the quickest way to do this. I'm going to edit that, and then I'm going to select these. Rather than the paste would be a lot more clicks. Just makes more sense to do this. Far more efficient. So there's that. And for this guy, the thank you part, maybe a little more subdued color. Let's see, it's going to be black. What do I have? Maybe that will be the same gray that this border is. Yeah, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to copy. Yeah. Oh, this is going to be cool because I want to make the shadow black on black. And it's going to be cool. So I'm going to say copy that and paste that to this entire feature. No. I'm going to do it the way I did it on the other one. This feature is actually this feature also. I don't know, that's not working. So I'm just going to say this feature. And I'm going to change this feature to black. Then I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it to this face and then duplicate it. And by duplicate it, I mean edit this one and then select the others, and it'll add those to the list. So I'm not actually going to use these colors for anything other than I'm just using it to plan the colors of this thing. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's going to look pretty good. And this, like I say, this here is the silver and gold bicolor. Okay. And the fronts is that going to be that orange. So, and then the background is also going to be black. All right, so I have black here already accounted for, so I can count that. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 colors. Okay, well, that's fine. 10 colors will be fine. All right, I'm going to save this, and I'm going to work with a copy of it because for some reason the display states didn't work last time, and luckily I did create a copy of it just in case of that exact eventuality, which did come to fruition, annoyingly enough. But so I was able to go back into this backup copy of it to working color again, and then I'll just change it again. I'm going to try the display states again. Not sure what the problem was there. Okay, so let's save that guy. And here's this nice little workflow to create backup copies very quickly. I click on anywhere on the screen. I go Alt F A, not anywhere on the screen, anywhere off of a body, anywhere on the empty part of the graphics window. Click that. Alt F A is save as, and let me clarify that. I click on the screen, I hit S for save. That puts this file at the top of the list when I sort by date modified, which is how I do it. And so I click the thing, I hit S, and then I go Alt FA for save as, and then I sort by date modified. I grab the top one, and I don't have to think about it because I know it's there. I grab the I click the control key, which makes me copy it rather than just drag it, and then I let it go in space, and now I have a copy here. You can see that. I'm going to do that one more time just to show you. I click on the screen, S, Alt FA, grab the thing, control key, copy. Now I have extra copies. All right. I feel like I want this to be up a little bit. That's good. I'm calling it good. Okay. So now it's time to change it to black and white. Now, so interestingly, if I, let's see, default display state. Okay. I'm making fun of it because it didn't work properly last time. Added display state. So now, grayscale. If I change this, it shouldn't change it in the other one. But it did on the last time I did it, and I'm not sure why. I'm just going to delete that. That's not a good example. I'm just going to delete this color and switch back and forth between display states and see what happens. Okay, this time it worked. Why did it not work last time? The only thing I could think of is because I changed to grayscale on the color of the item, but that really shouldn't matter. Well, let's see what happens. So for one thing, I need to decide what layers I want, in what order I want to print each color. So I want to do a print screen and create and put this in a PowerPoint slide here. What was that? Oh, that's not PowerPoint. That is my video editor. Evidimux. Alright, here's my PowerPoint. Control M for a new slide. Control V for paste. And I want this gray to be the highest color. Just because I don't want it set back or like valleys. I want it to be, as they say, proud of the rest. So I need a text box. So this is going to be 10. I counted 10. I hope I didn't mess the count up because then I'll have to rearrange these. So that's going to be 10. And I was going to go like 9 and 8 for the blue and the yellow. But I'm not. You know what? Because I want them to both. I don't want the piping to be more exaggerated on one than the other. I do want them to be basically near the tallest, but I don't want the piping. I want the piping to look pretty uniform between the two. So to that end, I'm going to not make those 9 and 8. I'm going to make this guy 9. And this guy 8. Now This guy is also 10. And ooh, I just realized that this black shadow is going to be like rainbow shadow. If I make it black, it's going to be partially black, but then there's going to be rainbow under the rest. But that's fine. It'll be what it'll be. All right. And so that we'll just make this a 1 just because I can, because it's right there. And so 10, 9, 8. Let's say 7. 7. I type 6. I tend to think of it as the higher the number that the mind perceives it as, the later said. Now, saying that, I'm contradicting myself because I have these. It's 3D Creator, not Creator 3D, and I have these as higher than the rest of the letters. But I'm saying I'm going to say just relative to each other. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how much that'll really work out that way perception wise. So now if I look at this example that I made, the test example, you can't see it, but I want that R to be pretty high, so I'm going to call that 5. And call the green 4. Now I'll call the green 3. 4. 3. 2. What's 1? I counted 10 before. Did I? What did I count twice? Am I missing something, or did I count something twice? Maybe I mistook the black shadow for the black background. So there's actually 9, not 10. And I'm just gonna keep that in mind. Not a big fan of these over-ear headphones. They're getting uncomfortable. Never been a fan of the over-ear headphones. I always was more of an earbuds guy. I hope there's nothing going wrong with this recording, because it's pretty long, and I'd hate to have it all go away. And I've had that happen plenty of times. So let's take a break here. Okay, so I have now numbered these colors, and evidently I miscounted. Do I want to do anything with these shadows? I could. I could just make them black. But it would only be on that would be kind of consistent if I do it on the R, but I wouldn't be doing it on this D. I could do it on the D, but in the logo I don't have it as black. So the background's going to be black. I have to keep that in mind. I mean, the other one I did, yeah, I think I'm going to do that other render thing that I mentioned in order to preserve those edges. I'm just looking at my test sample to see how that worked out on the as far as these edge lines here coming through on the print. I can kind of see them. There's just sort of a little bit of a valley in the print. It's actually not bad as it is, and I'm almost tempted to leave it as it is, but I want to make them a little wider. And so I think my render idea will work for that. But first, before I even try that, I am just going to, I need to create the grayscale anyway. So, alright, so I skipped number one. Oh, no. Yeah, because black is 1, red's 2, green's 3, orange is 4, white is 5, yellow 6, blue 7. This orange, this 4 is actually the sparkly yellow. I said it. No, it's a metal flake yellow. It's like a metal flake dark yellow. And this is a metal flake dark orange. And then 9 is going to be the gold and silver bicolor. And 10 is going to be the gray. Yeah, that works. Interestingly, though, this R is very gray here. But it's a darker. How does that look in there? Do I want to make that the gray? I might actually do that. I think I'm actually going to do that. I think I'm also going to, now that I think about it, if I remember, I am going to do a narrower line width, just for a little more precision, because you can tune the line width that you print with. And on the original one of these that I did, where the lines come to a point, where the shapes come to a point, they're a little bit ugly. And so I think I'm going to narrow my line width a little bit, and that should make things a little cleaner also. So yeah, this is going to be 10. Whoa. This will be 10. This will be 10. This will be 10. That should look pretty cool, actually. And I mean, do I want to do anything with this? This is actually red, not orange. I don't know. Oh, I know I was showing orange because I was messing with the display states just to test it. But that's going to be very low. It's actually the second color, so there's barely going to be anything here. The green shadow and highlight I'm not going to mess with. Same with the 4. And those are already accounted for. Okay, I guess that covers it all. Yeah, so on to changing to grayscale. Alright, so I will start with the shadows on the thank you for. It's going to be black. And it already is. What a bargain. And that's already gray. Although, so if I have 10 colors, so what happens is, so for example, if I go into here, and I want the gray to be high, so I'm no longer going for color XY. Now I'm changing over to grayscale. So this, even though it's going to be gray, I'm going to make it white here, so that way it is the highest elevation, and I'm going to make the white a strategic gray color. Whoa! Make the white a strategic gray color to get it to whatever height I want that. And so basically, I have 10 colors, and I have 255 on the color scale, 255 gradients on the color scale, or on the grayscale, I should say. And so I basically need to put them 25 apart, each color 25 apart. And so what I mean by that is, so if I go to here, just as an example, it should be 0, 0, 0, and let's see what it shows. And it is 0, 0, 0, these three numbers here. And if I went here, the white would be 255, but I'll just show it here. Where do I define this? Actually, I'm going to go into, rather than changing them all that way, I should be able to go into here and polished steel. I guess we're polished steel there. So I'm going to change that to 255s. So I'm going to edit appearance. And I can just go, I could either type in 255 3 times here, or I could just go to grayscale. I wonder if that's what messed up my, that could be what messed up my my display states. Let's try that. So do I now lose my display state functionality? Okay, so the red changes back, but the grayscale one doesn't. That's what it is. Okay. Evidently, and I'm not going to take the time to confirm this, but I'm sort of confirming here, is that each color, to change display states, evidently I can't go between color and grayscale, because it just, I guess each surface or feature or whatever has to be the same color scale across all display states. I'm projecting there, and somebody can confirm that if they really want to, but I'm convinced already that that's the case based on recent experience. All right. So that said, I am going to not change anything to grayscale. I'm just going to type in the numbers manually. That way I can switch back and forth between color and grayscale in this file. So I'm going to edit appearance. I'm going to put it back to color. Back to standard, I should say. And this will be 255s across the board. So that's interesting. I can change it to grayscale, and then back, and then set the number, and then go back, and it'll back to standard, and it'll do that. But I bet I already lost my differentiation between the display states by doing that, and that's worth checking, worth confirming. Yeah, so the thank you for is not changing between display states. So I again confirmed my further projection of how that works. So that's 1 and 10 I have defined. So let's see, what's 9? 9 is the highlight on the 250 subs. Is that? Yeah, 9 and 8. Okay, that makes sense. So 9 is going to be this highlight. And was that feature? Yes. And so this should make sense to do it this way. That should be all of those. No pun intended. It's very olive colored. And it's all of those. Ha ha. Ha. All right, and so 255 minus, what did I say, to 25 is going to be 220. Well, that was annoying. Well, why are you doing that? It's, oops, 220. That was annoying. Maybe if it does it again, maybe I'll explain what was annoying. Okay, so that did do that for all of those surfaces. Not all of those surfaces. All right. So this guy is going to be 8, and I'll just do this way. This guy, and edit appearance, and so 220 minus 25 would be 195. And so what I was annoyed by earlier, and it might have been because my mouse was over here. I'm hoping if I put my mouse over here, pointer, if I go 195 tab. Oh, see that? I go tab, and it should be highlighting it, but it's unhighlighting it. That is annoying, because then I have to, that's that many more clicks. That is annoying. All right, well, if that's the case, I'm going to Control C, Control V, Control V. What the? I don't know why it's refusing to highlight. Okay, and then 7 is going to be 170, and 7 is the blue, and so we're going to make this add appearance. I'm going to call these 170. Copy, paste, paste, paste. That's annoying. Paste. Alright, this might actually go pretty quickly. Except for wait. That's supposed to be 255. Oh, that's right. Now remember, I have to adjust the ambient lighting. And so what I did, quick explanation here. These colors, when I set them up initially, I wasn't happy with their shadows and the tint of the color, and so to mitigate that, I made them basically lights, and I gave them a luminosity, basically made them lights. And but that is messing with, so like the white wasn't white enough, for example, and so I made it a light, and so now it's truly white. Whereas this, I made it white, but because of the lighting in the scene, it shows up as gray. And to overcome that, which I already did in the previous, the first workflow for this multicolor thing, I went into my lighting. So I'm going to click here for lighting, and if I drop this down and I turn this light off in SolidWorks, you see things get darker, and I turn this light off in SolidWorks, you see things get darker. See, now this white, oh, and let me go into this material and turn off the light, as I mentioned. I don't really need to, because I'm going to change it anyway, but just for the sake of this, I'm going to show you in advanced here, and illumination, and then luminous intensity. I said luminosity, basically the same thing, but I gave it a number instead of 0. That made it a light. So now when I change this to 0 and hit enter, that R is going to get darker. That R is going to get darker. There it goes. Oh, one other change. I'm getting blue edges on some things, and that's or I thought it was. I don't see, now I'm not seeing the blue edges. All right, I'll get back to that if that's the case. Oh, and last but not least, I need to edit the ambient lighting to get me back to where I want to be. So I edit this light, and I put the ambient lighting all the way up, and that makes the white truly white, and that makes everything, there's no shading. Now everything is there's no shadows because the ambient light is full on everywhere. And so that eliminates any gradient, and that's a big part of how to make more precision. I like that. Thank you for the way it looks right now. The contrast of that is really cool. And I interrupted myself, and I forgot what I was saying, but that's okay. So now I am ready to sort of. I have. Yeah, I need to change these guys all to white, like this guy, and so I'm going to copy this. And I am going to paste to this feature, and I'm going to paste to this feature, paste to this feature, and what was where else was I putting white? Oh, the gray. Ah, yes, down here and in here. So I want to paste again. Oops, I'm going to paste again to this feature, to the surface. Paste. To the feature. Well, I'll find out soon enough if that's correct. So that is all of the white stuff. Okay. And that's all the 10s. So then the 9s are the... Alright, I already did that, right? Yeah, so it's 255, 220, 195, and 170. Why is this? Oh, because I didn't turn the light off on this. I also have this set as a light. So I need to, again, turn off the luminous intensity. I believe that's what it called it. Yes. Change that to 0. And also on the 3. Yep, that guy. And advanced, and illumination, and luminous intensity 0. So that should make things much better. So that is now gray, which is what it should be. And that should also be here. I think feature. Yes. And this guy. Body. And this guy. Body. Nice. Okay. That was the blue, which was, I believe, 170. And so 6 is going to be 145. So change this to 145. Now I'm hoping that the algorithm, if that's the right word, that Creality Print Slicer uses to convert light to dark as height, I hope that conversion is linear. If not, it's really going to bite me. And now that I say that, I'm slightly scared because the test went a little bit goofy, and I'm not sure exactly what went wrong. I think it's most likely user malfunction, my own fault, in other words. But I'm not 100% sure of that, because now that I think about it, I had that thought about the linear previously, and now that I think of multiple things in this at the same time, I wonder if that was my problem and not my error. Hopefully it was my error, so that it works correctly this time if I don't make an error. Okay, so that was, what did I say, 145, and that was the yellow. And so 5 is going to be 120. So that's actually our white. It's going to be 120. And let's just paste just to make sure that's 145. Yep, 120. Copy, Control C, Control V, Control V. Alright, we're getting darker and darker, looking good. And then 4 is this guy. Right, this guy. And, oops. So 4 is going to be 95. 95. That's just quicker to type 95. I can put my keys right on, my fingers right on the keys. 950 doesn't cut it. 95. And 3 is green. Kind of wanted that to be taller, but that's fine. 3 is going to be green. And so that would be 70. And 70. 70. Okay. So I guess this part does apply. And you know what? I'm glad I took that break, because I should separate that into 2 different segments. And yeah, okay. Yeah, good. I'm glad I separated that. I mean, I could have separated manually anyway, but I did pause in between there to just basically to make sure that that the record was successful. Okay. Anyway, so 4, 3, 2, and what was 3? See, not pasting. I don't have a check for that now. Should have to go by memory. So what did I say? Well, I have to look again. So this was 70. So that's going to be 45. Getting a little tired. So it's going to be 45. 45. 45. I almost want to make the black 20. I mean, did I mess up on my math, or is that just the way it worked out? So I knew it was like 255, and if I did 25, that's by times 10. Although I'm bookending it, and so I guess that's why I'd be at the beginning and at the end. And so I gained 5 plus 25, so 30, something like that. Did I mess it up? So I'd have 255, 220, 195, 170, 145, 120, 95, 70, 45, and then that would be 20. Okay, yeah, that's what, and I said I had basically no, I don't know. I'm slightly confused, but I think we're good. But why is okay? So that's dark, but not black. And did I say I was going to make some of that black? I made that R shadow silver. Nah, I don't want to mess with any of the other stuff. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? And so I pictured it in my head this way, but now I think about it, it wouldn't have done it this way. So this shadow, I'm going to make the 20, and then in the background, I'm going to make the 1 or 0. Yeah. I like that. So wherever. So let's go. That's 45, and I'm going to call this 20, just to raise it up. If that doesn't make sense to you, so it's going to raise that up, this shadow, off the background, so it'll actually show up as not just black. It'll show up as black, but it'll be raised up a bit, so it'll be differentiated from the background. So to get there, that's the feature. Yes. And so I'm going to call that 20, 20, 20. Now I'm just going to confirm that it got all the way across. I think it should. It should be 20s. Yeah. Okay. So I'm actually doing 11 sort of steps, but 10 colors. All right. This should be pretty good. Now the other thing I wanted to do in SolidWorks, and now I'm going back to SolidWorks, and I guess I'm jumping around a little bit, but I guess if you're doing it in SolidWorks, if you're following along in SolidWorks, and then you follow the rest of the videos in the series, it'll still work out fine in your workflow to do this now. So I'm going to hit S for save, and I need to, so before I didn't render this, so before I just did, I need to change the background to black, Alt TP enter for options, and then colors, and then edit to black. Of course I have to have oh no, that's That's not the viewport background. This is the viewport background. Oh, it's down here. So in background appearance, it's see they're mixing their terminology. So this should say viewport background appearance because it's what it is. This is background, and that's not what they're referencing. This background is not the same as this background. This background is actually the viewport background, which says here. Now, if you're not confused yet, I'll say it again, and then you will be. So anyway, I could choose a gradient. I could choose an image file. I could choose use document scene, but I'm going to say plain in black. Alright, so that gives me my contrast. I can see the shadow very slightly. I hope that the Creality Print Slicer tool works well with that. I suspect it may. I hope it's not. I hope it's linear. That's all I can say. And what so before I would just save it as a bitmap, but then that leaves me with these edge lines very thin, and they're noticeable. Yeah, I'm just gonna make them a little more noticeable. That's all. A little more noticeable. Hopefully, hopefully it works out that way. Hopefully it works out that way. Okay, and to do that, I'm actually going to do a rendering instead of just saving as a bitmap, and that allows me to add heavier outlining. So S for save. Then I'm going to go to my add-ins. Alt T D. Add-ins. Enter. Did that work? No. Alt T. I never do it this way for this. I do it with a lot of these. That's interesting that doesn't work. Oh, I probably had to hit D twice. I'm not digging the over-ear headphones, aggravating my ears. But it is what it is. I like the sound from this boom mic is so much better than. Man, I just spent way too much money on those wireless DJI mics. It's like $300 for a pair of mics, wireless mics, and I figured it was going to be, it's going to be great quality, blah, blah, blah. This cheap headset, it has so much better audio than those. I mean, granted, that's down on my shirt, whereas this is next to my mouth. But this is the way to go. And I do want to buy a better one, but I'm not going to go into that. Maybe I will. I'm having a hard time with my new phone because it doesn't have a headphone jack, so I can't really use this headset very well. And if I use a Bluetooth dongle headset, and I tried 2 different ways to use Bluetooth. I used a Bluetooth speaker microphone, and I used a Bluetooth dongle with this headset. And both of them, I couldn't get the phone video to record from the headset microphone. It kept recording the video from the phone microphone, which defeats the whole purpose of using a headset. So I'm a little bit mildly distraught that I spent $1,000 for the camera on that phone, and I can't use it to record quality audio yet. And I don't want to just buy another Bluetooth headset and find out that, oh, that one does the same thing. Like, I know it'll use the headset microphone for the calls, but it's evident to me that it's quite possible that for video, it would not use that microphone. Quite annoying. Okay, so let's do that render. I added the add-in to add the PhotoView 360. Now, newer SolidWorks has a different renderer. I'm not sure if it also has the PhotoView. I think it might also have the PhotoView 360. PhotoView 360 works pretty fine. And I have other softwares that use better renderers than this, and likely the other SolidWorks one. I don't remember what they call that. I can either do it in Rhino or Blender if I want. But I'm just going to do this here. Final render. No. I need to go to my options. So let's hit render tools and options. Yeah, options. And how big do I want this thing? That's pretty big, but that's fine. It'll be good quality. But contour cartoon rendering, that's what I want. And line thickness. Render only with contours, render contours, and the solid model. That's what I want. How thick do I want these? I'm not sure. Edit line color. Yeah, black is good, I guess. Let's call it let's see what one does. Can I do decimals here? Just curious. Nope. Let's just see. I bet one is thicker than this, so let's see. It'd be nice if they would let you do decimals for a little more precision, but whatever. Could always just make it bigger. I imagine if I did a higher resolution, then that would result in a thicker line. Let's try that. Let's just do a test here at 240 by 240, and then I'll up it probably to 2400 by 2400 and see if that changes the line thickness. Little experiment for us here, and then I do my final render, and this should go super quick because it's tiny and my computer is really badass. Logo sketch PNG cannot be found. What? Logo sketch PNG cannot be found. Why would I need this? No, I don't want to find a replacement. I don't know why I would need that. Is it going to render? Looks like, okay, it's over here. That's janky. Alright, so that line is about as thick as I want it proportionally. Obviously, this resolution is way low. And so let's see if I do it much higher. It's 2400. Go back into my options, scale it up, make it 10 times bigger. You saw that render was super quick though. Watch how quick this one is. I mean, and this is a laptop. It's a pretty impressive laptop. It's basically the best I could find, or the best value high end that I could find. What? Why is this? Why am I not seeing my render window? Is it not rendering? No, it was not rendering. Alright, so it's zoomed out pretty far, obviously, because, well, I'm no, maybe not. So I'm 3840 by 2160, and it's 2400 by 2400. Yeah, so I'm about 50% scale on this render here, on this preview. You know, typically I would pause the video and come back for this, but it's really not going to take very long, I don't think. I say that. It is going to take a bit, but I'll just it's not long. You can fast forward it if you really hate it. It's interesting to see how quick this goes. And I don't remember, I'm not sure what I put for the quality setting. Oh, I don't like that it put these tangent lines here. Did it always do that? And I don't like this reflection. So this is not cool. Oh, I have to turn my lights off. I need to turn the background reflections off in my settings. So I'm going to abort this. So I'm glad I watched it. Well, maybe not. You're not glad you watched it. But anyway, well, at least you get to see why I'm doing what I'm doing. So if I go back into options, I don't think this is where it is. No. I think it's in scene options. Scene. Background. That's off. I think it's the environmental reflections. Let's see. Floor shadow off. Edit scene. No. Okay, where's my I'm gonna close this guy for now. It's just slow me down, if anything. Why do I not see my options? Edit scene. What? Fine. It's going to make me change the background, and I'm just going to edit in here and then change it back anyway. Background. No, color. Color black. Okay. And where are reflections? Where are the reflections? Lighting. Scene reflectivity. I guess I can just put this to 0. Background brightness 0. Rendering brightness 1. This might do it. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. And I'm going to change the resolution to something in between. See how this does. Did I not hit final render again? Oh, it is. Okay. I don't know why that is a different color. That is not cool. I'm getting a reflection still. I don't want reflections. Stop giving me your reflections. Oh, that material is probably highly reflective. Let's, but even still, well, anyway, I'm going to edit this material, and I'm going to, if I go into advanced and illumination, reflection amount, real view only, that doesn't make sense, but I'm still going to put it to 0. Luminous intensity 0. Okay, evidently I had given that some luminous intensity as well. Let's try it again. Let's see what we got. Now this one, it should be, it's, I don't know why this rendering it. Oh, it is at 100%, never mind. That's changing colors on me. Not cool. I may not be able to do this via render, and I also don't like what it's doing in these corners here. I don't like that. Can I change my edge width? I don't think so, but let's see. Let's get rid of this. Alt-T-P, enter. I mean, it's possible. So like if I go to edges in shaded with edges mode. Yeah, I can change the color, but it looks like I can't change the thickness. How can I do that? One thing I can do is turn off tangent edges. Alt-T-P, enter. I think I can. Display. Oh, I'm just going to search for it. Tangent. Ah, it's right here. Removed. It is removed. What's shown in render? Part assembly. How about drawings, tangent edges, sketch, relations tangent, image quality, document properties. No. How can I, maybe if I edit, what's this light doing? Rendering brightness, background brightness 0, rendering brightness 1. Why does it insist on lighting from the top? Okay, I spared you a minute of trouble there. Uh, but this is an interesting outcome. I turned the render brightness to 0, and it gave me that. So maybe there's a happy medium in there somewhere. If I go edit, no, that was in lighting, right? I guess if I, well, wait, let's see here. Off in SolidWorks. Edit light. Can I turn this on in? No. I don't know why it insists on doing this. I mean, what if I did 3? Just out of curiosity. Final render. Oh, maybe that takes care of me. Huh. I still don't like that it puts these tangent edges here. Yeah, it's shading here. This E should be all the same color. It is shading. I don't want it to be shaded. Ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. Maybe. Excuse me, maybe if I go options. That's not what options, that's final render. Yes, I want to abort. If I go options, and then I do select my edges, but only my edges, and is output ambient occlusion? Is that what I want? Oh, wait a minute. Contour or cartoon? Cartoon edges, cartoon shading, cartoon edges and shading. Let's see what this outputs. Not very useful. Alright, I am back. I just had the weirdest thing happen in SolidWorks here, and I do not know what is going on. If I switch back, so I reverted back to my backup copy, which luckily I saved before I started changing things too much. And if I change to this one, for some reason I lost all my color. Whatever I change, if anybody knows how to use SolidWorks, I thought I knew how to use SolidWorks, but if I just change my background color, that doesn't do anything because that's in render. But if I go Alt-T-P enter and I go to my colors and I change use background color above, it's like everything is completely matched to the background color in this file. And I mean, I've deleted the scene, I've edited lights, I've turned down the ambient, I've turned up the ambient. I am at a loss here. If I go edit scene, I'm going to turn off the reflections here because I always do, and that makes no difference, no big surprise. If I say edit scene, and it says to get in there I have to tell it to change the background to the scene, and this also I say no and it doesn't let me in. So then I say this. I think this is kind of what got me in trouble in the first place. I still don't even know what. I'm not going to try to solve it here, but I'm just sharing this weirdness here. So if I go edit scene and then I say yes because I know it's going to make me, I mean, I still lost all my color on all these stuff, but if I go edit them, they're correct. Edit scene advanced, and that's nothing there that should affect the colors of things. Background is currently an image. I can change it to a color, and it's not going to matter. I can make it whatever color I want. It's not going to matter. I can just still see like all of the color is the same. Keep background, doesn't seem to change anything. Basic background color. Oh, so we're just, well, I'm confused. That's where I just was. Yeah, so none of that should change anything. Scene file, I mean, I don't know if that's not going to do anything. And so it's very strange. And even if I go to my display states, that also doesn't change anything. If I say, what color is this? It doesn't matter what color I make it. It's like if I get rid of that, nothing changes. I think I broke the file. I don't think there is anything, like if I change to that, let's see if I hit render. Did I lose my, where'd my render tools go? Somehow I lost my render tools. Oh, because I restarted SolidWorks, that's why. See if that would fix it. Did not. Render tools. Final render. Just gets all goofy. Continue as is. Don't need that. Okay, interestingly, it's rendering correctly. Oh, and I'm in the other, that's interesting. Now, ultimately my problem was that I could not get it to render without shading. And so I'm giving up on the rendering, and I'm trying to go back to before rendering, and it's just, I lost all my color on my viewport. I'm not, did I change? Is that stupid? Stupid. That's all it was. How did that get changed? I swear I didn't change that. Alright, I feel stupid now. Not sure how that got changed on me. Is my imagination, is there a little highlight there? I want no highlights. There we go. Well, that does look highlighted. Is this, let me make sure I don't have any luminosity. I did find that on the sea I had some various reflectivity and things. I go into advanced illumination, no luminous intensity. Huh. Well, I'm going to 145, and that is the feature. And so I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to create a new, just to see if I can get rid of that shine. Look at it, it's shining here too. Oh, my ambient lighting. I forgot I turned that down to try to figure it out. Edit light. Should be 1. And I need to delete these two lights here. Okay. Now I'm tempted to try it again. Let's reflections, background brightness 0. Scene reflectivity 0. Advanced. Basic. Background color. See, I swear this is where it went wrong when I hit black here. Okay, looking good actually. I'm not confident that if I render this, it's going to be what I want. And I already know I'm going to get these little edge lines here that I already don't like. But I'm curious to see now. So if I say final render, stop showing me that. Let's see. I mean, if this actually worked, that'd be cool, but I'd be surprised. Yeah, see, it's still shading, and I don't want it shaded. I want it solid colors. So for whatever reason, I can't get it to render without shading, and people may be saying, duh, that's what rendering is. And okay, that's fine. I just was hoping that I could do it otherwise. Evidently not. So I still wonder why that the coloring went to outlines. Oh. Okay. Alright, so I just need to save this. I wish these tangent lines also were not there. Actually, those aren't tangent lines, are they? They are just because the font is not smooth. I could redo that. I don't care that much. It's going to be fine. So, I am just going to screenshot. Screenshot. All right. This concludes this portion of the tutorial. Stay tuned for the slicer action, where I actually slice it up. So I have all the colors as I want them in order to generate the to next generate the 3D from the 2D, and I just did a screenshot for the 2D, and so I'm going to end this here, and I will continue in the next part where I will manipulate the slice, and I'll generate the 3D from the 2D and interrogate the slice file or the slice info to determine what layers to change my filaments at. So thanks for watching and stay tuned. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please consider sharing it with your friends, and or otherwise helping people to find it by clicking the thumbs up and commenting, and consider subscribing. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks again.